Let's try and learn from the best. Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Unit Lost. My name is Josh, and today we're going to make use of that new command center that the Overwatch League has, and we're going to take a quick peek into the perspective of one of the Sombra players for the Houston Outlaws, Danteh. And as you can see here, he's already trying to build up his ult, that cheeky rascal. So yeah, what we're doing today is looking at Sombra play in specifically in this 3-3 meta. Don't worry, we'll talk about all of this as we go on, because right now, the meta in the Overwatch League is very 3-3 based, right? You've got triple tank, triple support, you might have heard it referred to as GOATs, and as a result, it's been dominating a lot of the play, but occasionally, you get teams that might specialize here and there in certain other playstyles. Sombra GOATs, or Canada Comp, or Som GOATs, or whatever you want to call it, is actually making its way into the league more and more, and that makes me very excited as someone who plays Sombra a lot, and watching good Sombra players like Danteh, who has statistically actually incredibly good EMPs and incredibly good conversions of turning fights from losses into wins when he uses those EMPs properly. Well, why not try and learn something from him? This game was the Valiant versus Houston Outlaws, two teams that are really sort of fighting for their lives at the moment. Both teams kind of been regarded as performing a little bit badly at the moment, and as a result, well, they are relatively evenly matched, of all things, so it's going to be an interesting game to look at. And crucially, during this, Danteh has some really clutch moments where he really saves the team just with good Sombra play. So one of the couple of things I want you guys to focus on, well, first and foremost, notice how important his ultimate charge is. Notice how important it is for him to have his hack available as well. He's not actually hacking health packs and flipping health packs and doing all that sort of stuff that you expect Sombras to do, especially if you played her a while ago. It's very, very different. He's only using health packs occasionally, he's only picking them up every so often, and when he needs them, so for example, he called a cheeky fire strike to the face there, needed to go back, heal himself up, and as a result, he's back and ready to go. He's looking for hacks onto Fate. A crucial hack target, of course, is that Reinhardt. He's got to try and get that Reinhardt barrier gone. If he can, then that's going to open things up for Houston. He doesn't have his EMP, so the biggest value play that Sombra can give at the moment is getting a hack on a crucial target, like a Reinhardt, like a D.Va, for example, or it's building up his EMP massively. Because there's also armor going out, agility has activated his rally, his damage isn't actually going to be that high at the moment, so he has to be a little bit careful with how he's spraying. Not knowing where he is also going to be very important here. So for example, he's hiding out of line of sight. Crucially, your space, you can just fire those D.Va cannons around, try and reveal him from stealth, and Space is going to be doing this a lot throughout the series. He comes up here, gets boot back, I think by Space, he might have just done a reposition, but gets knocked back regardless, cornered, and killed, unfortunately. And if you've been paying attention, you've been seeing that Danteh has been very, very meticulous about throwing his translocator out before he's been engaging. He did it before moving into this room when he was trying to sort of get behind where the LA Valiant were, trying to get above them and get the high ground, maybe get some pressure onto Izayaki on that Zenyatta, but unfortunately, he didn't use it. He didn't use it, and as a result, his team loses the fight pretty much immediately. Once that Sombra is gone, that threat of the Sombra is gone, Valiant can play so much freer, so much looser, so much more aggressively, and they can also commit way most of the fight. They know they've got a big early advantage, and as a result, it's going to work wonders for them. Instantly, though, Danteh is back. He's trying to build up that ultimate charge as much as possible. Notice he's not, like, changing health packs, flipping health packs. It doesn't matter too much with these 3-3 comps, because you're not fighting on the health packs generally. You're fighting on the point, usually, or you're fighting in choke points, and you're not actually moving away to go get these health packs or have any major influence. They managed to scout the LA Valiant and have been taking this platform into the main room. Danteh gets swept up on this one, unfortunately. Plants his translocator down, and now he's going to start looking maybe for Izayaki. Instead, he finds Space, gets the hack onto the D.Va after she's deployed her bomb. That means she can't remech, but with a great Graviton Surge in the front lines, realizes he doesn't need to use the EMP here. He can hold on to it. They've already won the fight. They had no... LA Valiant didn't have anything to sort of save them in that Graviton Surge. As a result, they all go down, and he saves the EMP. Very crucial that you do not use EMPs when you don't need them. They are such crucial ultimates. EMP is not by far, but generally one of the most powerful ultimates in the game. It can really swing fights. It destroys the concept of ultimate advantage, where one team has more ultimates than the other and is therefore quote-unquote more powerful. Interesting decision there to try and go for a cheeky sort of long-range hack. Personally, I'm not a big fan of that kind of stuff. He already has his EMP available, so he doesn't need to build up ult charge. Revealing yourself to LA Valiant at this point, well, that just means they know where you are. They know where to prepare for you. Again, going in on this side angle, you're going to see Space as well. Look, he's sweeping across. Danteh barely doesn't get caught by that. Instead, he goes for an engagement straight away with the left click and again gets caught out by Space and killed by Space. So crucial a loss here that this could actually lose them the point straight away. Very similar to the first point, Danteh just gets cornered by Space, over engages, and ends up dying. We're learning a lot of what not to do. Trust me on this one. There are some clutch moments coming. It's been a little bit disappointing so far from our lad Danteh, but Comes back with the clutch. Houston Outlaws did a great job surviving on the point for as long as they could, just keeping themselves alive, get Danteh back. You can put out that crucial EMP, catches most of the team, and as a result, well, now they can start springing back a little bit. It definitely bought them enough time to regroup somewhat, but then LA Valiant, there's just not enough damage on the point for Houston, so LA Valiant swing back in, they commit some ults and keep the fight going. Danteh's going to try and do his best to keep this alive, try and use some jukes with the Translocator, but it's just not enough, and as a result, Valiant do take second point. So a very rough start for the Houston Outlaws here. Unfortunately, things just did not go to plan for our poor boy Danteh. Kept getting caught out by space, kept getting picked off here and there, and as a result, just keeps on dropping down. Nice replay footage of Space catching a Graviton Surge. We're going to see a lot of Space on this one. The dynamic between the D.Va and the Sombra is actually going to be something very interesting to keep tabs on throughout the rest of this match. Space is going to be looking to try and catch Danteh as often as he can. It's going to be a bit of a Metal Gear Solid sort of thing. Danteh's going to be sort of sneaking through, hiding in cardboard boxes and trying to get into the back lines as much as possible. And that's what he's going to try and do now, actually. Volskaya Industries has a single choke point, so getting through here stealth as Sombra can be a little bit difficult. You're seeing Space, they're just shooting into the choke point. Doesn't manage to find Danteh, but he's going to still scout. Look, it's like a spotlight looking around, shooting across the places where Sombra could be looking to go. Fate's on the low ground. This is a huge thing for the Sombra to maybe deal with. Fate's trying to find Danteh as well. He's putting a few shots out, but the hack comes through, and as a result, he calls it out to his team. Everyone drops down to that low ground, chases Fate down, and gets the kill on him straight away. This starts the fight in favor of Houston Outlaws, but Danteh did have to bounce out. He did have to run away, so it was a 5 versus 6 for a little while here. Doesn't matter too much. He regroups with his team. Houston do a good job just stabilizing a little bit, and now we have a real fight beginning. Space again just getting drilled in the back, a little bit out of position there. Has to be very careful. Goes super low, ends up dropping down. Houston still have advantage at the moment. Danteh a little bit out of the fight for now, but LA Valiant, they're not looking to engage too hard. They're not looking to do anything until Fate gets back. He's finally returned. Graviton Surge goes out, re-engage out of the Valiant, and they just clean up on the floor. And this is the weakness of having that Sombra in your team in this sort of playstyle, is that you are a lot less powerful, and that pound for pound just raw brawling strength compared to, for example, and yeah, he's messed up his Translocator. He's just not gonna get out of that one, so he's just gonna return to spawn in an efficient and timely manner. But yeah, for pound, the Sombra isn't as good as the D.Va in combat, right? The D.Va against these tanky targets, against these big targets, does so much damage. Sombra doesn't quite have that same amount of raw oomph in comparison. Okay, so again, we're going to have that problem of trying to get Danteh in past the rest of the team. Manages to just go through with his team, and he can honestly now play it and stick with his team. Bounces out pretty much immediately there, just out of raw safety. If he dies, then this push is basically donezo. He has to just go back and keep himself alive, make sure he doesn't go down to any stray damage at Space. Does a great job here of just keeping him harassed and just keeping Danteh sort of nervous, is how I'll phrase that. Danteh panics, honestly, with this D.Va, and then just jumps out into the open, and to Valiant's credit, they capitalize on this immediately. They understand that Danteh is such a huge win condition here for the Houston Outlaws. They need his EMP to be able to win these fights, especially as LA Valiant now have Transcendence and Sound Barrier available to them. Izayaki and Kuki there lighting up on the top left of the screen, although Kuki's not quite there yet. He'll have it for the next fight. This makes it very difficult now for Danteh, because he has to choose between generally either hitting all of the LA Valiant, well, as many of people of the LA Valiant as can, or he has to go and find where Izayaki's hiding, for example, or where Kuki's hiding. If either of them aren't caught in the EMP, there is a big chance for the LA Valiant to spring back in the coming fight. You basically neutralize the power of the EMP by using one of those support ultimates. It's a very interesting facet of how the pro level meta works and how these sort of games end up panning out when you are trying to deal with support versus the Sombra. Once Sombra's in this room is actually very powerful for her own Volskaya, just because it has 3 exits. Danteh's just going to stick with the team, however, gets revealed. And again, this is something that I think you need to be careful of when you are playing Sombra. When you do reveal yourself, you are letting the enemy team know exactly where you are. Goes for the EMP straight away onto the enemy tanks. Maybe they're trying to set up a shatter combo with Muma there, but as a result, Transcendence just comes out. It does burn through one of those ultimates though, and as a result, they can get the Graviton Surges out, get those big ults out, and then cycle their own support ultimates and maybe just outlast the LA Valiant here on this crucial fight. Has to bounce out again. Remember, pound for pound, Sombra cannot stay in these fights for super long. She's got 200 hit points, D.Va has 500, and that's who you've swapped this hero out for, and you just don't have that staying power. Danteh has to play evasive and agile and can't just stay stay in the fights and grind down. As a result, that EMP doesn't hit pay dirt, right? It doesn't end up quite working out for them. And now it's looking rough for Houston Outlaws, right? 13 seconds left on the clock. They got to get onto the point and they got to stall it. Danteh's got to be the one to do this, so he has to get a stealth operation to get his way through everything. Manages to make it through the spam. Space doesn't manage to find him there. It was just the Brigitte health panning off. It gets onto the point, taps it, enables overtime for his team. 69 hit points. That's all he needs, apparently, as well as now fight is joined, and Valiant, well, they're going to use Transcendence, they're going to keep the fight going. Danteh has to scramble on the point, gets that EMP out, hits Izayaki with it, the early Transcendence being punished because Izayaki, of course, can't survive anymore, and as a result, gets taken down straight away. And now Houston Outlaws actually managing to muscle the way onto the point, but it's still not really a great position for them. Spree has Diva Bomb, for example, everyone peels off the point. This is a moment where you can absolutely lose the game. Overtime, Wick almost burns down, but they do get kills. Boink ends up going down to it, Spree goes down to Fate, and now it's just Danteh on his own, but he's going to use some evasion, some great Sombra jukes, just jumping into the air, staying on the point crucially, but going above the enemy team, buying enough time for Muma to get onto the point. Agility's going to try and stall with a Hammond, but when you're playing Hammond and there's a Sombra on the map, you're never going to feel great. Agility's just going to, pile drive his way off the map, get back to his team, and regroup, because this could turn into a snowball. Danteh has built up a lot of ultimate charge. He's on 90%, so he's going to, again, be looking for those opportunities. But Space, again, is there. He's there. He's the human searchlight. He's managed to find him once more, and at least this time, Danteh's not dying to him, so we've seen improvement already throughout this entire map. Danteh again got to sneak in. He's got to try and find where the Zenyatta is, but it's honestly actually not too big a deal because they saw the Zenyatta use the Transcendence in the last round. Kuki's going to be the really crucial one, and Kuki's got, right there in the middle. I'm really fascinated that he didn't try an EMP earlier during this, like get in there a little bit earlier and try and get something done, but it looks like Moonwood just steps out of line, or I think they got pinned down by Kareev's Graviton Surge, so as a result, Houston Outlaws, they don't have anything left in the tank. Boink doesn't quite have his ultimate available yet on the Lucio, so they don't have anything to save them, so they'll go down there. They have Grav and EMP coming up, and again, Kuki's going to be the crucial one to keep an eye for. You can see Space as well, the silhouette of Space just searching around. He doesn't know where Danteh is. He hasn't seen Danteh, but he's just firing random Diva shots into areas where Sombras like to go. And you can see how difficult it's making things for Danteh. He's trying to find places to go and where he can sort of find his targets. Where Houston Outlaws are coming in from now, they're going in over the elevators. That's going to pull some team members from LA Valiant over. And crucially, it is actually pulling Kuki out of cover. Kuki isn't hiding at that point. An EMP there could be cheeky and could actually have gotten a lot of results. But Houston, so disarrayed, been so sort of confused by this engage and being pushed around with the Diva and the Lucio, they wouldn't be in place to capitalize on it. So he's just holding his tongue for now. He's just waiting for that crucial moment. Goes in, manages to catch a lot of people. Again, Kuki actually does a good job here. Stays out of line of sight, stays on the high ground. It does enable the Earthshatter to come through, and Earthshatter in GOATs or in 3-3 comps, Earthshatter wins fights. Earthshatter actually gets you kills, and it does get some there, but unfortunately the fight manages to go long enough for LA Valiant to just stabilize and keep this fight going. This is good for the Houston Outlaws. No, this is good for Valiant because they have what's called defender's advantage, so unless Houston can suddenly get a surge of kills, and it's very difficult to do that without ultimates in this team comp, well, they're not actually going to convert and actually be able to flip the point. Therefore, Valiant are just going to reinforce from the spawn, which is much nearer to them, and so they'll stay alive. Danteh's now back in that building stage of Sombra. He's going to try and find a good hack, and maybe then try and build up his ultimate as quickly as possible. He needs to get that EMP up and running as fast as he can. Looking for Space at the moment, almost gets him down, but gets hunted down by Agilities. Again, just continually looking for cheeky hacks. Valiant have so many ultimates, though, it's not going to make too much of a difference. The silver lining there for Houston, they didn't use anything, really, right? They've used no ultimates, and they're going to come into this next fight with 6 ultimates, pretty much. Boink should have his ultimate during the coming fight, and it should be a really good battle for them. It should actually, in theory, be the one that they win. This is the one that you're definitely looking to get something good with. The big question is, can Danteh find Kuki? Again, if you've been tracking the ultimates, keeping an eye on it, Izayaki just used Transcendence. Kuki hasn't used Sound Barrier in a little while. There is a threat of him having it, so getting Kuki could be very important. They could also, as an option, maybe try an EMP Fate, for example, and then try and get an Earthshatter. Great hack onto Space, but Space is just going to stay on that high ground. Fate drops down to the low ground. Brigitte runs in. Everyone gets caught by that hack, but Space doesn't, crucially, and just throws the Diva Bomb in just to try and stall things out that little bit longer. Kuki comes in but gets caught in the grab and gets killed off before he touches the floor, unfortunately, so Sound Barrier does not end up going off, and as a result, Houston Outlaws, well, they can just easily storm through the rest of this fight, no problem. Muma even picking up on the Hammond just to get back to spawn, just to get back from spawn that little bit quicker, but Agilities, well, he's going to try the same. But again, if there's a Sombra on the enemy team and you're playing Hammond, you're going to have a miserable time. You're just going to feed ultimate all day, every day. If there was one word I had to use to describe this entire series, it was messy, unfortunately. But Danteh, well, he's doing a lot of work so far on the Sombra. He's trying to find as many opportunities as he can, crucially. Again, the things to keep in mind, the things to learn and pull from a pro-level Sombra is simple. Always have your translocator out. Like, never, ever engage without it. You feel like a complete moron when you do, trust me. I've done it plenty of times myself. So always make sure you have that translocator somewhere to bounce out of. Spend your time trying to get those EMPs as quickly as possible, or alternatively, look for the value hacks. Again, you can see Space just trying to find him, that constant pesky D.Va looking for him. And this is actually a good thing for D.Va players to play out. You can see how slow it's made Danteh in terms of trying to find these opportunities. LA Valiant go for an early engage. Danteh takes a clobbering there from the Zen, and that's always a little bit terrifying here. He's going to pick up the health pack, look for a little bit more, and this is actually quite risky out of him, but he's just going to flip the health pack here, use that to get himself back up and running, and as his team rejoins him, well, he's got the Brigitte heals, he's got the Zen heals to pick him back up, so that's no problem. Again, going to try and put some pressure on Space, but because pressure's being pulled everywhere at the moment, this gives Houston Outlaws a big opportunity. Danteh wasn't being focused down there. Space tried to get some work on him, denied him the hack, certainly, but didn't deny him all that juicy damage into the back of D.Va. Everyone focused down the right target. Very spotty out of Valiant there, not very good rotations in terms of dealing with it. A risky early engage, just not paying off for them. And this is where Houston Outlaws really need to capitalize. Izayaki going to be the target of the day, especially with the Sombra EMP coming up. Gets a hack on Agilities as well. That's going to slow Agilities down. He even manages to rejoin his team there with the Translocate, but again, making sure that he doesn't engage without it. Fate buying some time for his team as well, using that Primal Rage. Has to be a bit careful. Of course, with a Sombra around, you have to make sure you are disrupting that Sombra if you are using Primal Rage, because if she hacks you, well, you're in a lot of trouble. But they're just going to muscle away on the point, and a really spotty EMP, and this is sort of the wages of a poor EMP, I would say. Done in a location where a lot of people will be out of line of sight. He does manage to catch 3 people with it still, but crucially, he doesn't get the support. He doesn't get the people that really matter in this fight, which is going to be the ones who can actually pull people out of the fire here. Again, shout out wins fights in GOATs or in 3-3. You can see it turns into kills pretty reliably, but unfortunately, everyone on Houston is already down in Space. He's just having a good time on the point. We'll clear it out. I really think if Danteh just waited a moment or two, managed to get more into the center of the point, or bided his time, looked for the supports instead, he could have gotten more out of that EMP. Unfortunately for him, he was just a little bit out of position there, just caught into the corner, pushed it back there a little bit, but he needed to just get the value, the money EMP to really convert it for his team. He's been so good at doing that in the past, it's kind of a shame that he hasn't found the results there. This is also something I want to comment on, by the way, which is the use of Sombra for scouting. There's several mindsets with Sombra where you can either start and flip a health pack for your team. Once the gates open, you can flip that health pack, hack it, make sure your Zenyatta, for example, always has a health pack, or you can use it to scout and spot what the enemy team's doing. I personally definitely prefer the scouting idea, and if you're playing on ladder, you can even use it to do stuff like look for a cheap early hack, for example, onto a Reinhardt pushing through a choke point, or look for something to get done there. But you can see the priority as well that they're putting on to Danteh in terms of getting his charge built, getting that EMP built up. They even committed the Zarya bubble to him to make sure he could stay up there, Space searching on the high ground. Bit of a risky translocated location just next to the point, but they managed to get rid of Space, so it's a nice early advantage for Houston at the moment. But with Muma going down, well, losing your Reinhardt's a very big deal. Unfortunately, they actually managed to get round here, so Houston fell back, and this is where that translocator doesn't end up working, right? Because Houston fell back behind those boxes, and it basically led the LA Valiant to where the translocator was. The translocator isn't very tough, and so it will break the moment someone hits it, and I think, if I had to guess, I'm guessing Kuki managed to find it, therefore, he had to use it in combat, and using your translocator in combat is always very risky. It doesn't actually travel very quickly, so now Houston are in a lot of trouble. Right, they got to hold 33% for 3 minutes here to try and stay in this map. It's not easy to do. It's going to take good ult management, it's going to take some good EMPs, and it's going to take some good hacks to manage to find that. Again, just nipping in on the flanks, has to bounce out immediately, is not taking any risks anymore, right? He's not staying in. The moment people turn to do damage to him, especially people like Zenyatta, he has to really respect that. Everyone on the point, so he managed to get a relatively good EMP, doesn't manage to get Izayaki, unfortunately, who did a good job hiding. That's sort of the Zenyatta's job, but does manage to catch all 5 people. When you do catch all 5 people like that, they're not really going to be able to convert into kills too easily. They don't have abilities, they don't have ultimates, so it will effectively stall the fight out for your team, and when you're on defense, that's not necessarily a bad thing. So catching everybody with that EMP is going to enable Houston Outlaws to maybe get some value out of their own ultimates after the Transcendence is done, or maybe get some value elsewhere. Looks like Dante's going to take a risk. He needs to build this charge up as quickly as possible, so he's just going to try hunting targets. Again, the second he took some damage, especially that Orb of Discord, he gets out of there, right? He has to try and survive. If he goes down, LA Valiant are just going to run in aggressively as possible. Huge pick off from Izayaki. Amazing play out of the Zenyatta player on LA Valiant so far. He's actually been doing a really good job. Notice he hasn't been dying constantly to Dante, for example. Kuki taking a huge amount of damage here, and like, the tracking coming out of Dante is spectacular to watch. It's very difficult to do a large amount of damages with Sombra over long to mid-range, and he's actually managed to do it there to the Lucio, but there's just not enough follow-up, unfortunately, for him. But again, this flank, you can see everyone's so worried about the choke point that even though D.Va has that armor, even though D.Va has so many hit points, if you are Sombra just free-firing into the back of the D.Va, you have 60 bullets to put into her, and she's so big and chunky, she's a hefty lass, she's an absolute unit. You're going to be able to put every single bullet into her back and shred through, especially once the armor is depleted. You're going to just take her out no problem. So constantly setting himself up on these flanks, constantly shooting from an opposite angle, constantly making himself an annoyance, and that's going to do wonders for generating his ult charge, which he couldn't really do before, right? Because he got spotted out by that Zenyatta, had to bounce out. So all of that that 40% that he has now has pretty much come from the fight. He's going to have to try and look for it now. You can see, again, Space is searching for him. Even Izayaki is putting orbs out just randomly on places where he thinks that Dante might be to try and catch him out. Because if you do catch the Sombra, well, you basically won the game, right? You won the fight for your team, and you're going to win the map. Which LA Valiant need right now, right? They really need that win. So again, Dante staying on the flank from his team. And he knows that he's safe, by the way. He knows that he's safe if the enemy team try and run him down, because he can just translocate like this. He's just fine to be able to bounce out. Again, Houston Outlaws finally pulling it together, finally getting some good ult management. A bit of a whoopsie from Fate. Boink actually does sort of boop in there, but Fate goes for a risky charge. Anytime you're charged near this canal, you know that Lucio is going to be fishing for it and looking for a little bit of a bounce around to try and boop you away into the canal. And, well, he just takes a bit of a charge into those icy waters. So again, Dante now has that EMP. One fight left in it, right? There's 10 seconds left to go. This is a slight risk, but it will slow Kuki down. He doesn't have speed boost anymore. He doesn't have any way of getting to the point, and now they can just catch everyone trying to get there. LA Valiant didn't swap up to Tracer. They didn't switch out to anything else. And as a result, they have no way of getting to the point past the Sombra. Dante had some heroic moments in that game. He absolutely saved them on first point. He absolutely saved them on second point as well by managing to dink the Lucio in the head before he landed that sound barrier. He managed to get a lot of results out of the EMPs that were good, and he had a couple of spotty EMPs as well that we can all learn from, right? We can all just pick up from where those mistakes happened. Again, the crucial thing to pull into your own play if you are going to go and play Sombra is constantly be building them EMPs. Always have a translocator out, attack from the flanks, and keep the supports in mind. If those supports get those support ults out, the EMP might not be value. So at least if you're not going to get the supports, then make sure you're getting 5 other people at the very least. Alright guys, thank you for watching to the end. I have been Josh, as one voice amongst many here on the Unit Lost channel. You can find me on Twitter at @1_amongst_many. You can find me on Twitch as well at ESL_1_many, where I'll regularly be doing VOD reviews of the Overwatch League. It's been my absolute pleasure to bring this game to you, and hopefully we'll be bringing you more. Post in the comments if you want to see specific people or specific heroes. By the way, we're looking at like different people and different areas to focus on. The meta is a little bit stale, I'll say, at this point. So, you know, if we're going to be focusing on like Brigitte, then that's going to be a little bit messy watching perhaps, but where there's opportunities, we'll definitely be looking to try and get perspectives of various people. So do let us know who you guys want to see. Alright guys, thank you for watching to the end, and I'll see you next time. Toodles.